Hi, everyone. I'm Bonnie Hardy, and today we're welcoming Erin Johnson to the Cozy Mystery Book Club interview. Hi, Erin.
Hello.
Just a few words about her. It says in her bio that she was a native of Arizona and she moved to the Pacific Northwest, but I wanted to check with her for a minute. How long ago was that, Erin?
I know I need to update that, but no, it was 2019. So it's
Oh,
feeling
not
more
that long.
like I'm here now. Yeah, but
All right. She's got her roots
yeah.
down there in the Pacific Northwest. She writes norma, paranormal, cozy mystery novels and several series, which is I want to ask more about. The
Yeah.
stories are called mysterious and magical and very humorous and hopefully will make you laugh. Erin doesn't always write, but I bet she feels like she's always writing.
Yes.
But she hikes and she naps with her dogs and
hmm
she's loses a trivia night. She's
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
ton of different jobs, a blackjack dealer
hmm
and a PA on a horror movie. Interesting.
Yes, yeah.
To a Pilates instructor. Is that
hmm
the horror movie and the Pilates instructor? They go together?
They kind of do. Yeah, no. A lot of people.
That's the story we may want to look at later. And she's finally
Yeah.
embraced her true calling as a writer. But the thing that I'm just happy to tell everyone about is that she has hit the Amazon top 100 seller list in cozy mysteries and cozy animal mysteries and ghost mysteries and in mysteries about witches and wizards. So you can see why Erin has lots to talk to us about today.
Thank you
Hi,
so much
Erin.
for the nice intro. Hi. Hi,
You're
Bonnie.
so welcome. Could you tell us what book you're sharing in December with all of our readers?
Yeah, so it's called Scrying Over Spelled Milk. I have to get all
Okay.
my puns right. and
Yeah, right,
yeah,
right.
so Minnie, who's the protagonist, one of her special talents is scrying. So she does that over liquid a lot. So this is over spelled milk. And
Uh-huh.
it's kind of a fun little like Christmas story, but it's also it's directly tied into the series, so it's not kind of just bonus content. Like it continues the story. So I think new and continuing readers will have fun with it. But
So those who
yeah,
love that series will love hearing about her, and those who haven't might be intrigued to read more.
yeah, I think they'll get
That's
a
the
little
perfect.
intro
Yeah.
to all the main characters and sidekicks and all that. So yeah,
So could you tell us about your different series? Because I know
yeah,
you have several, right?
yeah. I've got three main series that I just write, and so the first one is Spells and Caramels, and
Mm-hmm.
then the next one is the Pet Psychic Magical Mysteries, and those both take place on this fictional island of Bijou Mare. And the Spells and Caramels follows this baker who's kind of running around with she's like the royal baker, so um, the palace is at the top of this, kind of mountainous island and all of her adventures. And then the Pet Psychic Mysteries kind of takes place at the bottom of the mountain. And so she's in the kind
Okay.
of grittier night market district. And so they both take place in the same place. And there's a little bit of overlap, but they're very different vibes. And then the third series that's on mine is the Magical Tea Room Mysteries. And that's the one I just mentioned with Minnie. And so that was my first series that took place in like an actual place that takes place in Bath, England.
Oh,
And
nice.
so it's a
Great setting.
little, yeah, love it. Visited a couple times, would like to go back. But it's, and it kind of plays on a little bit more real world stuff. So like there's some Jane Austen tie-ins and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. But, and then I have a couple of shared world series that, are all wrapped up, but one's a Renaissance fair one, and then one's kind of a Christmassy themed one. So,
So when
yeah.
you say shared world, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it can mean a lot of different things. And both those series look a little bit different, but generally the idea is you're writing with other authors, and
Oh,
there's
okay.
some element of shared something. So in the Christmas series one, there were four other authors I worked with, and we had a lot of fun. And we wrote in this world we all created together called Holiday Haven, and it's like up near the North Pole. So lots of magic, everything's Christmas themed, and we would reference each other's characters, but they wouldn't actually feature in the stories. But we would all coordinate. Okay, what's going to happen? Like we kind of knew what was going on. And then in my Ren Fair one, I worked with two other authors, and it was all set at the same Ren Fair that's cursed. And in that one, it was a little bit more interlocking. So we had a lot of shared characters who would appear in all three books, and our main characters would also appear in each other's main books. So that one was like a little bit more interlocking, but I know writers who will write like alternating chapters where they're writing the same character, or two sisters who are alternating. So it can really look a lot of different ways, but there's some element of writing with other authors in some kind of shared universe.
It's so collaborative because writing can be so lonely, right?
It
And
can be, yeah.
so you've
And so,
crossed that world.
yeah. And what's really fun, I was like, let's just go in with no expectations, but it is really fun. And it can be, a lot on your brain to brainstorm a whole world,
Yes.
and all the little characters and all their shops and their people, and so it's kind of fun working with other authors because it makes that world feel a little more real, because you're like, oh, even when I'm not thinking about it, they've got these people running around doing stuff, like it feels a lot more like real. And it's
Hey, I'm convinced that if I can get at least one other person to buy in, it must be real. So
totally.
you guys have created a whole different atmosphere and journey and characters. How
Yeah.
do you keep track of it all?
In the shared worlds, I've tried a couple different ways, and I don't know what I would do going forward. I'd probably do something different, but there is some kind of shared place to put information. So one time it was like, I don't know if it's technically, it's kind of like Wikipedia, but it's your own little
Okay.
Wikipedia. And so you can add files for images, and, here's the background of this character. And so if you're like,
Oh,
wait, who's the one who runs that bookshop? You could just pull it up. And then we did something similar for the Ren Fair world. But we had like shared Google Drive files with all kinds of stuff everywhere. So and then we were sharing each other's works with each other, so we could always reference that too. But it is a lot to keep track of, and it's a lot when it goes over multiple years of writing, because you're like, what did I say 2 years ago? I don't know. But
I just want to like hit my head.
yeah.
But multiple years, really. So tell me,
Yeah.
which one of the series goes over multiple years, or but do both?
So both the Winter Witches series, which is the holiday themed one, I think we wrote that over 2 years. So
Okay.
we got like 3 books out 6 months apart. And then the Ren Fair one, we did 1 book a year each over 3 years. So we just wrapped up the last one this year. But
You
yeah,
did.
so they each spanned a little bit of time, just because there was a little bit more space between them than like in my own series,
Right.
try to get them out a little bit quicker, not always, but yeah.
Do you have a timeline that you let books out or you launch them?
I usually do at the beginning of each year. I'm like, I'm going to release
25
5,000
books.
books. Yeah.
Right.
That goes out the window really quick. So I feel like every year I'm kind of tweaking my process. And I think I'm just starting to learn like what my actual limits are, which are a lot lower than I would like them to be, but
Wow.
I'm definitely aiming for no fewer than like 3 or 4 books a year is kind of,
Yeah,
I
that's a,
did it.
a
And then if I get
sizable
more,
amount.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
if I get more, those are
Yeah.
bonus, but yeah.
I'm not sure if readers or listeners to this realize how much work there is into being an indie publisher.
There is, yeah.
So
There
that
is.
you're doing a lot more than just writing. I mean, I don't want to say just
Yeah.
writing books. It doesn't work without writing the books, but
Right.
there's a lot of other things. What challenges you the most about being an indie publisher?
That's a good question. And you're totally right. There's just so much to, your little small business,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing the marketing, and, I think sometimes people have assistants that help with various things, but for the most part, you're the person,
Yep, you're the
and
go-to.
I think for me, it's probably, I think a lot of it is the process. And I feel like I kind of keep coming back to that and tweaking, how much time do I need between books to let my brain regenerate? And when
Yeah.
I'm feeling kind of like, what do I do next? It's like, how do I get my ideas again? And it's sort of, I feel like every new book, I'm sort of like, wait, how do I write? Did I write?
I
And so,
forgot. I
yeah,
forgot. Yes.
totally. And so I think it's kind of the longer I've been doing it, it's been several years now, the more I kind of have the confidence that like I will figure this out. But I think just that constant reevaluating and going, okay, how much time am I spending outlining and writing? And, oh, there's this new tool. Okay, do I take a break from writing in order to learn this? And I think it's finding that balance between all the things you need to do and then not adding more on my plate than actually needs to be there. Because that's something I do too. It's like, oh, all the shiny ideas and the new things. And,
Right.
it's fun and exciting and you want to be involved, but then you still have to be writing and getting the work done. So yeah, I think it's just finding that balance and kind of figuring out what works best for me. I think is probably going to be an ongoing challenge forever, but it's good. It's fun.
Speaking of what works best for you, I was just struck with how when you're writing, do things ever come out in your characters that surprise you about yourself?
Yeah,
Do they
I would say
reveal?
so.
Can you think of a time when a character revealed something
Yeah,
to you that surprised you?
that's a good question. I've had characters kind of develop and have things happen where
Yeah,
I just didn't expect it to go that way. Like the first
right.
several Magic Tea Room books, for whatever reason, I would get done writing them and I'm an outliner, so I'm pretty outlined.
You're
And
not
then I'd be
right.
like,
Okay.
oh, okay, like I think actually the killer should be someone else, and I'd rewrite the second half. And that was the first time that had happened. And then when I was writing the Spells and Caramel series, I have this little character, Iggy, who's like a magical flame and he's very snarky. And he just has this snarky interplay with the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I was writing this chapter where he gets I guess I didn't really plan out in my head, oh, this is why he's like this, but you kind of get insight into how hurt he's been and why he acts like that. And I had myself crying and like I have people reference
Right.
that and say, oh my gosh, that's so sad, and I'm like, I didn't even know it was coming. But I think those moments are always really fun. It feels less like I'm writing and just like, oh wow, like this is what this character is, which is always fun. And I guess, so I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about the revealed something about myself part of your question though, because I think that's really interesting. I haven't thought about that before, but definitely characters have shown me sides of themselves. And yeah,
I had a snarky character who was a
yeah.
cop in my books
Mm-hmm.
show up right away. And,
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, isn't she interesting? And she kept
Uh-huh.
getting snarkier and snarkier. And then
Yeah.
her language started getting worse and worse. And I had to like put in other words for swear words. And because these are
Uh-huh.
cozies.
Right.
And she was
Mm-hmm.
really in people's faces. And then my hands were pausing over the keyboard and was, oh my word, Janice Jets is me.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what goes on in my head. Maybe people don't want to hear this, but actually she turned out to be my favorite character.
Yeah.
It's like she was a shadow waiting to,
Yeah.
to come to the page.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. The snarky ones are always fun because you're like, I would never say this, but I guess part of me is thinking.
Somebody put those words in her mouth. Oh,
Yeah.
that must have been me.
That was me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
As well as the sensitivity and
Yeah.
the in depth and the tears and the things that you didn't maybe not know that you were emotional about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's the piece too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're
It
right.
draws us there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I do know because I read the book. I think I'm trying to remember the name of your shepherd in your series,
Oh,
the dog,
Daisy. Daisy, the
Daisy.
German Shepherd. Yes.
Right. And how did you get Daisy to talk?
I think I'm a big animal lover. And so, when I'm wandering around my house, me and my husband are constantly talking to our dog, but also for him. And so, like, he has his
Don't
own
tell.
voice.
I do that too with my
Yes.
husband. They actually have accents and things.
Yes.
Anyway, go
And
ahead.
it's always really disappointing when he's not here because all of a sudden my dog is now quiet too, so I have
Right,
to like
because
talk for him.
not
And
only is he gone, but the dog
the
voices are
dog's
gone.
voice is
Yeah,
gone. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just something I've always done. And randomly, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons a lot, but I've been playing with my brother years ago.
Oh,
And
okay.
which I think it's actually, I kind of would like to play more. It's very, it's just kind of great for storytelling because you're just making up stories with other people. But in it, you have to create a character. So I created a character who could talk to animals. And
Hmm.
I just thought this would be the handiest thing ever because, you're getting attacked in the forest. You just like calling your bear friends to come help you, and
Yeah,
you
right.
do. But then somebody in the group pointed out, well, yeah, you can talk to them, but how do you know they want to help you? Like, why would this bear help you? And I was like, oh, that's a good point. So I
Hmm.
think that was kind of the germ of this idea of Jolene can talk to animals, but like all animals. So cockroaches and spiders and things you wouldn't necessarily want to hear what they're thinking. And also they might
Hmm.
not really care how you feel about them. And so then Daisy, I wanted this police dog, and I kind of started thinking about what would the personality of a police dog, especially German Shepherd. And so it just I their interplay is very snarky, but Daisy herself is more just she's very straight laced, she's like
Yes, like you
focused.
would suspect a police dog would be.
Right, right. But
Yeah,
then when
yeah,
you
yeah.
play her against Jolene, who's really irreverent and not particularly law abiding all the time, they like really clash. And so that's kind of how I got Daisy's voice was just, I imagine her being pretty like stoic and literal a lot of times, but once the interplay with Jolene happens, it's, it leads to that brings out a different snarkier side of her. So it's
Right.
yeah, but I think it's just the same voice as I would give my dogs. It's kind of how I came up with that. But
Did you know when you because you're an outliner, you said you
mhm.
outline your books. I assume you jot down your characters too.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's kind of a cyclical process for me at least. It'll be
Hmm.
a place sounds really exciting and I like the vibe of it, and that kind of gives me inspiration, and then maybe a character comes up and then another character, and then I kind of start thinking about how they might play together, and then add in the mystery piece. And it's I don't know if it's very linear, but yeah. It kind of happens that way. Yeah.
It sounds like it kind of does go in a circle and then comes back
Yeah.
out and starts again. Yeah.
Hmm. And then it's
Did you know did you know Daisy was going to be talking when you started the book, the first
that's a
book?
good question. I think I did. Yes, I knew because I knew Jolene more than
Hmm.
Daisy because Jolene can talk to the animals, and the way she does it too is it's not mental. It's she actually has to like make like woof dog noises. They make
Right.
noises back at her. So I kind of knew there's going to be a lot of talking animals throughout this series. Was kind of the
So you
premise,
had
but
that feel. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But I guess I didn't necessarily know how much Daisy was going to be. It's because it's like Jillian and the love interest, Peter, who's the officer, and then his dog is Daisy. But um, you know, Jillian and Peter have their own thing, and as I was writing, I think I realized how much Daisy and Jolene are their own pair. That I think
Uh-huh.
a lot of people like that maybe more than Jolene and Peter even. A
They
lot of
preferred
readers.
her
So
relationship with the dog.
right, like it is pretty funny. So I think I think they just find it amusing. But
Well,
yeah.
kind of leads me to another question about how much does the feedback of your readers influence your writing?
It surprisingly does influence a lot.
Uh-huh.
I don't typically read a lot of reviews. Like I'll read some coming in, but because I know it really influences it, I try not to read too much because
Yeah, I'm the
it'll be
same.
like
Yeah.
slightly like, this could have done better. And I'm like, oh gosh. Like,
Please
I don't know why.
stop.
And then I have a complex for a few days and then I get over it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so but I do, if readers send me emails and they mention things, I definitely factor it in. I like hearing what people especially what they're looking for in the next book. Like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens between this or that.
Oh,
Or,
right.
oh, like sometimes people will be like, oh, it'd be so fun if this character, you know, did this or that. And there's been a couple times where I was like, well, I was not going to have that character continue on. Honestly, they were like that book, but
Hmm.
I thought, okay, yeah, so I'll bring them along. So
Hmm.
I do feel like they give me ideas sometimes. So I do like
Uh-huh.
that. I like to know what they're excited about or what they're really curious about. Because I think when we kind of, or like I as an author, kind of know where it's going, sometimes that kind of closes me off to, oh, this other thing could happen. And it's kind of fun to have those thrown into the mix. And, it kind of keeps it a little more, oh my gosh, I can't think of words right now, but like free. And, it's kind of the
Oh,
fun
it
of
does.
writing.
It's
Yeah.
relational. It's
Yeah.
definitely relational.
Hmm.
I
So,
was listening to a
yeah.
podcast too. They were saying that the difference between traditional publishing and indie publishing is the relationship with the reader. That
Yeah.
indie writers are really more connected with their readers. Do you think that would
It,
be true?
I do think it's true. I mean, I definitely think traditionally published authors, I'm sure, have that relationship. And, I'm sure it's different if you're going out and doing book signings and seeing people in person, or, it's
Uh-huh.
indies can do too. I haven't personally done it, but you know what I mean? Kind of what I imagine as traditional right, published people versus indie. But I think just the speed with which indies write typically,
Right.
we're turning things around quicker and we don't really have to go through a publisher or an agent, or it's up to us what goes in the book. And so I think probably there's the writing relationship, what comes out in the book is probably a lot closer, more closely related to readers. um, and I haven't done this myself, but I know of authors who write in gosh, I can't think of what the apps where I can't think, like Wattpad, where you release,
Oh,
chapters
they
at a
do.
time.
Yeah,
And
and they keep it ongoing dialogues. I've heard of that too. I
right.
don't do
And
it,
then they
but yeah.
factor it into, and
Hmm.
I thought that's really cool. And I do have plans, going forward to kind of try to check the pulse for whatever my next series is. And,
Hmm.
because I definitely want to give people things they want to read. And I think it's kind of fun it's more exciting for me when I know people are excited to read it. So yeah, I can see that kind of across the indie board. I think there's a lot more, I think, just willingness probably to try new things. And not necessarily the authors themselves, but just when you're not having to go through a whole publishing house that's going to have a lot of, steps
So
to get
many
published.
layers, right?
Yeah, it's probably a lot easier to pivot. And, I think that's one of the advantages. So
You
yeah,
take
I
the
can,
hits, but you also get the excitement.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
yeah. I know, and I know when I send out a newsletter, there's always few people who write me right back about something.
Hmm.
I set
Yeah.
a recipe and I forgot to write
Nice.
stir in the flour, stir in the dry
Yeah.
ingredients. I heard about
Oh
that
yeah.
right away,
Yes.
you know, and
Totally.
rightfully so. Yeah,
Yeah. But no, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's always nice. It's nice to send things out and you're like, okay, people are reading this. And, I have
yeah.
a relationship with people. They
Made
can
me
email me and
consider putting a mistake in every one just to see if,
yeah,
I get feedback. Hello,
totally.
anybody out there? Yeah. But
Yeah. A little
I
hidden.
can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't do it on purpose anyway. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So for
So
sure.
you mentioned trying new things,
Hmm.
and are you kind of contemplating another series?
I definitely am. Yeah. So I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of taking November to figure out what I'm doing with my life. And
Okay.
um, I haven't necessarily officially wrapped up the Magical Tea Room series, but it's paused for a little bit at least,
Hmm.
with something new coming next. And I have several ideas. I'm just not sure what's going to come out right now. So I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm kind of regrouping, planning what's coming next. And
Right. Kind of
it'll be a
waiting
new
for your
series. Yeah. So,
there are certain like clues that, oh, this is the direction, right?
yeah.
Things
Yeah.
pop in your head,
Totally.
or your dog actually does start talking to you, or
Yes. All my ideas come from
yeah,
Henry. It's all him.
right. It's all about him, and
Yeah.
he'll be collecting any residuals.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Ratatouille. He just,
Right. I love that.
No. But yeah, for sure. I do think, especially in a cozy genre, I feel like a lot of inspiration from pets is legit. And, you know,
Absolutely.
so
So
yeah.
can you, before we kind of wrap ourselves up here,
Yeah.
are there any things that you would like people to know that maybe they don't about you or your books or your,
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I just really enjoy writing them, and I'm very grateful for everyone who reads them. It's,
right,
definitely my dream job since I was like a little kid, and just to be here where it's my actual job is kind of, I forget sometimes that it's a little bit mind blowing. But if I think back to, several years ago, I'm like, okay, I didn't think
when
this
you
was
were a
possible. So,
PA in a horror movie
yeah,
for a
when I was,
Pilates instructor,
I was only joking about that
definitely a
because
fit. Yeah.
there's a lot of machines. There's
Right.
like Pilates reformer and stuff, and everybody who sees them goes, like a torture device. So it's like maybe it's connected
Mhm.
to the horror movies, but yeah, no. Yeah, that was my like longest held job, and that was kind of my day job until I transitioned to writing full time. So it was, I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it's pretty cool just to be able to do this full time, and I really
Yeah.
love being able to I mean, they're definitely cozy, it's definitely full of magic, but I do appreciate, I feel like people give me a lot of leeway to go take them on adventures and, push the genre borders a little bit. And
Good.
just I love that people have fun with them too. Like that's just makes me happy. So yeah.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
To be happy with your work is just such an incredible gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
It
And I
can't be
definitely,
underestimated.
yeah,
Go
for
ahead.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think I get to these points too where, they really matter to me. It's like, I want to, at some point I feel like the characters definitely have a life of their own, and as you're writing I'm like, I want to do them justice, and
Right.
I want people to be like, yeah, that was a good wrap up. I'm not, they would never do that. I would feel so like, oh, I let them down. So I think
No.
I think I have a lot of fun, but also like I want to do a good job, and it's definitely fun to be able to like fully focus and dive into these, and yeah, give give books everything. So um
That's right. I assume you're a
yeah,
reader. You mentioned reading and as you prep for, do you like to read
yeah,
too?
I do. And honestly, I could be better. I go through spurts. So I had kind of a dry spurt, and then I took a trip recently and brought a book on the plane and finished it, and then got another book and got it, and that kind of
Good.
got me re-going. And it's, yeah, right now I'm on a like, I really enjoy Halloween and spooky season. So I got on a psychological thriller kick, which isn't my normal reads, but I've been devouring them. So hopefully
All right.
my next series doesn't get too dark with the influence of reading, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's okay if that's where
Yes.
you take us, because I think your readers trust you.
Yeah, no.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll keep it cozy. But yeah. So are you a big
So,
reader too? I see all the nice books behind you.
oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
I do a book cleanse every January, and I clear
Oh,
open
nice.
my shelves so I can get more books.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one of those lending libraries in the neighborhood. So yeah, when I'm
I
done, I
love
just
those.
come in
Yeah,
there.
little
Yeah.
book, yeah, little libraries.
Uh-huh.
So when people download your book and after they read it, where would you like them
Yeah.
to go after that, and where can they find you in general?
Awesome.
I'm seeing the sun coming in. I'm gonna check this curtain just a second.
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah.
don't
The
mean to
best
ask
place.
you something and then walk away. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. The best place for me, honestly, I'm pretty good about weekly newsletters, keeping things up to date. So if you go to erinjohnsonwrites.com, sign up for
Hmm.
my newsletter, give away a lot of novellas and stories and like just fun puzzles and crosswords and stuff.
Great.
So that's the best place to just kind of keep up with me and what I'm doing. But also, all my books are on Amazon. So if you find my author page there, you can also get
Hmm.
alerts and just kind of see all my books in one place. So yeah, I think those are probably
Good.
the best places. Yeah.
So they can shop your page.
On my page, yep. Or just, get
Excellent.
alerts. Yep. So
Well, it's
yeah.
absolutely been great talking to you, and I hope you
You
have a
too, Bonnie.
wonderful holiday season. Yeah.
I hope you do too. Yes. I hope
Thank
everybody
you.
does. And yeah. And yeah, it was fun. We talked that we chatted last year actually. So it was fun to catch up.
I know we did, and now,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty soon we're going to be meeting in Carlsbad somewhere because I think we talked
I
about that.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
That would be really fun.
Well, maybe I'll see you next year then.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.